All right, we are live. One person in. First Saturday Nightmares live at 10 p.m. See how many people pop in. Just good. How are you? Can you hear me? I hope you guys can hear me. Large, how are you, Troy? Y'all can hear me? Yes, no? From Northern New York. Awesome. Awesome. Good. I'm glad you guys can hear me. Doing my live from the downstairs studio. I think this is where we're going to be doing it from now on. Northern New York. Whereabouts in Northern New York? That's where I'm at. David Truthvids, how are you? Brian Mons, what's up, buddy? Anthony Spatz. Thank you guys for Jager, how are you? Jane, yes, I am good. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Harry Griffith, Michael Middleton, Messina. All right, we got a bunch of Messina people up here then. Troy's from Messina. That's awesome. Thousand Black, what's up? How are you? Thomas Brewer. Yeah, I really to be honest with you guys, Jane, it's good to see you. It's good to see everybody. Michael, how are you? To be honest with you, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna move my regular computer that I normally use up there. Eremic, how are you, buddy? Mr. Haunted Jimmy. Pups, how are you? So I'm going to move the regular computer. I'm using my laptop right now, so I apologize for the screen if it's any kind of different or whatever. But this will be in the new area where I do the live. I'm more comfortable down here. 10 p.m. is a great time for you guys as well as for me. And, I remember a few of you guys saying, have it a little earlier. And then I was talking with Rachel, my fiance, and we were talking about how, yeah, it would be better for you guys and myself, because at that point at 12 a.m., I started, and 2 hours in, it's 2 a.m. I'm drained anyway from the day. I want to do another hour, so this way we can have it a little longer. More people will pop in, hopefully. We just got to see, and get people used to the new part of the time zone or whatever. The time it, I can't even. I'm just stressful day. I have family members, large, that live in Hogansburg. Actually, I've been there many times. I've sweat lodges up there. I have an uncle and cousins and an aunt that live up there. But yeah, the Aquasati Res is great. I love it. My leg is really a lot better. I should once again should fiance on that one too. It happened. We were taking Saturday off. I said, let's take last Saturday, come back with a new kind of setup for next week and a new date or new time for the live stream. We have dinner. We got dinner. We're watching, I forget what show we were watching. I'm folding laundry, and all of a sudden Tigger just like out of the blue jumps me like I owed him money. And I'm gonna see. He's well. He's in his chair right there sleeping. Maybe you guys can see him. I don't know. Hang on. There he is. Can you see him there? Oh, this is better. I can move the laptop for you guys so you guys can see him. That's good. So, but yeah, let me see. There. It started right there. That's swelled up. The back of my leg is all swelled up. There's like a knot the size of a golf ball. You can see kind of the area, and it's all the way around. Like it's been a week. It's been a week today, and I waited until Monday to go to the doctor's. No, it's Tigger, Arabic. Tigger jumped me like I owed him money, buddy. It was terrible. But yeah, I waited till Monday. I should have listened and gone Sunday, but I didn't. And the infection got worse. They put me on Z-Pack. My doctor, I'm at this place. The doctor, we're talking about everything. I'm talking about you guys, the channel, the new book, and everything. And then he starts typing in his phone. What's the best course of antibiotic to use for a freaking cat scratch or bite? And I'm like, wait a second, is this for real? Like, am I in real life here? What the fuck is going on? And so I'm like, geez, I'm crow. Awesome, thank you, Marceline. Anybody who has gotten the book, thank you. And honestly, I have to say, and it's not because Jimmy, Mr. Haunted, and I are, part of the book, but I've seen a lot of cryptid books. I have a lot of other cryptid books up there. For $18.99, you get 299 pages or 90 pages, 290 pages, 50 chapters. It is one of the best bargains, I think. I was looking through, scrolling through, and there was a book for $12.99, 65 pages. I'm like, what the ridiculous. The book is amazing. Their experiences that were shared on the channel here, and Jimmy, Mr. Haunted, put them together, compiled them all together, did a wonderful job. So thank you, Jimmy, for doing this for us and for everyone here. I got some great Lizzo stories for you guys tonight. I've got a stack of experiences, and we got a new time, So yeah, my printer shit the bed this morning. So when I do the Lizzo stories, I'm going to be reading them on my phone instead of paper tonight. I apologize for that. Leslie September, Glenn, John Sumner, Nexus, SDL, Sparkle, Wiley, what's up, buddy? How are you tonight? Good seeing you. Delirium, there you are, buddy. Kenneth, just want to make sure I said hi to everybody. George, that looks like Hercules. How are you, buddy? Dis, how are you, Dis? Good seeing you. All right, if I missed anybody, I apologize. I will say hi eventually as I see you again. John Collins, how are you? Annette, how are you? Chat is going good. Chat is doing good. All right. So I think we'll start off with some experiences right now. Tigger is right here. There's the channel mascot right there. Zonked out in his chair like the little turd tickler he is. Phoenix Fire, how are you? All right. I'm sharing this because I have seen similar things to what I'm about to discuss, but it's too long to leave as any kind of comment on your YouTube channel. First encounter, a couple weeks back, I was on the front door step about to bun a zoot. I hadn't smoked weed in a day, so I was not hallucinating. I think he meant burn a jibby or whatever, but I don't know what bun a zoot is. And I started hearing some strange noises coming from just behind my back garden. I thought it was a cat or something, so I turned on my phone's torch to see what it was. That's why it sounds odd. He's English. I wish I hadn't looked and just went inside because what I saw was scatty. I scanned the back of my garden with the torch, and seemingly out of nowhere, two red eyes were just there. I had a massive feeling that I was being watched before I saw the eyes. I just held the light on those eyes because I thought it was just me being strange, but then I saw the frickin' blink at me, and when I moved the light, albeit left to right, I could see the glare on the eyes as they shifted. These were not just some animal eyes. They were red because of the dark in the torch. Nah, they were big, completely red, no pupils. I started trying to make noise to scare whatever it was off, but it did not move. It just stayed dead still. And then after about a minute, I saw it turn around and disappear into the woods. The whole time I could see its face, I couldn't see its face or body. It was too dark. So I have no idea what it was, but there was something very not normal about it. Something very, very unnatural. A couple days later, obviously, after seeing what I saw, I was hesitant to go outside at night, but as it was really warm in south of England, I am my windows are open. I am leaving my windows open at night. I often hear sounds like there is something directly outside of my window, or I hear my gate open and close. But if it was a person cutting through, they would have opened both gates. I only hear one, and nothing has ever gone missing either, which I would expect if by the end of the week I'd chalk it up to some animal that maybe we aren't supposed to get around here. So I just move on and forget. Next evening, proper second encounter. Because of COVID, I haven't really been able to see my girlfriend that much. So yesterday night, we were having a fire in my garden. We kept hearing weird noises, but again, just assumed it was an animal, as I'd forget about the encounter with red eyes thing by this point. When the fire had died down and we were going to bed, I came back downstairs to go have a cigarette on the back doorstep. About halfway through the cigarette, I heard the same noise that I heard the first time I saw those eyes. So instantly, I started praying out and turned on the torch again, and there they were again. This time, I didn't see them blink once, and I was looking at it for about 2 minutes. It had also moved and wasn't in the same place as I saw it the last time. It was behind my neighbor's garden, but still looking directly at me. Something really scary dawned upon me at that moment. Where it was standing, there was a massive dip just behind the fence. It seemed to be peeking at me from, and if it could look over it, like it would need to be around 6.5 feet tall. I really started to panic at this point. So you decide, am I going to throw something at it to see if it moves or if it's scared of me? Spoiler, it didn't move. It didn't even seem to jump at something being thrown at it. Around 10 seconds later, the thing just disappeared into the woods again. So I went inside, but did not lock the door because I was getting a drink and was going to close it after. Door handle starts going up and down like something's trying to open it. Grabbed the closest kitchen knife and swung the door open, but there was nothing there. I am convinced, 100% sure it was not an animal because in England we don't have really big animals, and the animals we do have all have greeny yellow eyes when the light reflects off them. If anyone has an explanation for what this thing is, or if someone in south of England has seen something similar, please let me know about what you've seen with red eyes. Basically, I just want some answers. Thank you for allowing me to share. I don't really know. I know there's supposedly dogmen in England, but other than that, I don't know. I've heard of a few Bigfoot experiences. in England as well. Black cats and such. Who gave the must have been Aramaic. Aramaic! Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. So I really don't know. You know, black cats, large black cats. Like I said, I've only heard maybe one or two Bigfoot experiences out of England. Nothing more than that. Big Dogman, yes. Black cat. I really have only heard of a couple crawler experiences as well out of England. So I'm really not sure. But also we have, over here we have the creature with red eyes in New Jersey, notorious red-eyed creature. So whatever, if anyone is in England right now and has an idea of possibly what it could be, let me know, please. Maggie Mayhem, how are you? Jager, I literally, Delirium, thank you so much. Thank you. You really did not have to do that. I really appreciate you for doing that. Giving a copy to my, awesome. Thank you once again, Delirium. And I'm glad that you're back to work. I'm glad that you're on the mend finally. I know it's been a long time. Thank you. I really appreciate all of your support and have. So that means a lot to me. Jeez, thank you. I do like the early time better too. It's way better. Jamie Martinez, thank you for popping in and hanging out with us. I really appreciate it. Blake, how are you? It's a good time. It really is. I'm kind of off tonight, but I will get in the hang of it again. Aramaic is still awake. Hopefully we all stay awake now that the time is different, That's awesome. Let me find a couple shorter encounters, and then we'll do some Lizzo experiences for you. And like I said, we're going to have like a whole assortment of experiences: paranormal, crawler, Dogman. So I got a pretty good assortment tonight. I must have been 8 or 9. I don't remember the specific age. It might have been earlier, but certainly no later than 9 years old when I had my first of a few peculiar vivid dreams, or at least I always called them peculiar. One dream because I think I was awake at the moment. Jane, thank you so much. Thank you guys. Wow. You guys are freaking amazing. Thank you. I gotta stop when you guys do that. So, all right. I must have been 8 or 9. I don't remember a specific age. It might have been earlier, but certainly no later than 9 years of age, when I had my first of few vivid dreams, or at least I always called them vivid. One, because I think I was awake at the moment it happened, but through the rest, I may have been asleep. So I was that's kind of weird. Why would you write that like that? That's kind of odd, right? So I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I'm a young girl sitting there, as most little girls do, very aware of myself being a little girl that might have been at the time more innocent and more naive than average. And then I suddenly wasn't. I don't remember clearly where I was or what I was doing up to that point, but I do remember that I had my eyes closed momentarily looking down, and I opened them and I was raising my head to look up. And all of a sudden, pretty aware that I was not a little girl, and I was not in my body, and I was not in my house, and I was not in my country, Greece, anymore. I was in a crowded place, and it was very bright. I was sitting at a white table that looked old and round. There were other people sitting at the table as well, and they were talking to each other, but their voices were distant and muffled, and I couldn't understand what anyone was saying. I was very aware that this was not my body, but that I had some strange kind of faint control over my body, so I tried looking around instead of just looking right in front of me. Sure enough, the body did obey, and I could look around even though everything looked like it was long distance away from me. I was also aware that the owner of this body was not 100% gone, and that whoever it was, they still had some awareness and were still the legal owner of this body, and that I was not meant to simply get stuck here. The only reason I was aware of this was because I suddenly started having anxious thoughts about what would people think if I kept being this and weird looking and I need to move and do stuff that will not draw attention. And that's when I realized I had a phone in my hand. I've seen my mom use this type of phone, and I focused on it and thought that if I appeared to be focused on it, people would think I was doing something and would not talk to me. And if they do, I need to think of something to do that or to use as an excuse to not talk. I don't know how to use this phone, but I certainly know what to do with it to not draw attention. I put it on a table and I started playing with one of my favorite pastime games. I just span it around with my finger and watched it go around in circles. I realized I was doing that way too fast and this body was stronger than mine, so I attempted to make it go slower because I had no idea how my reflexes would react if it fell on the ground, and I didn't know if I could walk on this body or talk or anything else. I decided to try though. As I was spinning around in front, as it was spinning around in front of me, I said "we" as an attempt to find out if I could speak or not. Then, as feared, the phone was spinning and started to go towards the edge of the table, and I had to use my reflexes to catch it before it fell. And I really didn't feel like I could do this, but it somehow happened, and the phone was caught by the body before it fell. And that's when I vividly felt that I had no control over the body anymore. I was still there in perspective of the body, but I was no longer in the body. I felt weird, shivering, vibrating sensation, and I knew that the person had just said something. And then I fainted away, and I was in my house, in my body, in my country again, right at the moment when I was raising my head, and I was flabbergasted, speechless, astonished, but surprisingly not scared. It was just like, well, that was interesting, and I never told anyone because I always thought it was just one of those little dreams you have when you fall asleep on the spot without realizing. And it was forgotten, but always very vivid in my memory, similar to this. I came to the States for the first time in 2013, and that's when I started exploring the culture, perfecting the language and accent, trying to integrate as much as I could into this country because it seemed like the place I would want to build a future in. I was also pretty interested in documentaries of any kind. While watching those, it was inevitable that I would discover serial killer documentaries like 48 Hours and Forensic Files. And as I am watching those, I found a documentary about Columbine. And I thought, that's fascinating. As I'm looking more into it, I found this video. I recognized the place. This was the place. This was the body. That was the phone. I was there. And that's when the weird stuff started, when I remembered yet another similar dream I had. I had found yet another video that corroborates my memories and dreams and visions, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, that is my experience, and I believe that I had been in or close to Columbine when it happened. That's weird. 9-year-old girl in Greece having some sort of, it wouldn't be sleep paralysis, it would be astral. That's pretty insane. Rosie Holt, how are you? How are you, my friend? And thank you for that beautiful, beautiful box of gifts. I will share the many gifts that you had gifted me just recently, either Monday or Tuesday. Guys, Rose got me a beautiful rock tumbler. I shared that with you guys. She got me a mining kit, and then she got me this huge box of like all sorts of artistic stuff and it is truly amazing. So thank you. And like I said, I will share um, that either Monday or Tuesday. Scooby, yes, new time is 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you so much, and um, just awesome. So. But let's see what else we got here for you guys. What time is it? 10:30. I'm not looking at the time because of anything other than when I'm going to share the Lizzo story with you guys. So, yes, it is. I am just your old granny from Texas. You are, Rose. You are. I truly appreciate everything. I really do. The mining is something awesome. Like, it is truly great. I was actually talking to Rachel about getting a map of the Adirondacks where different minerals are located, um, and kind of using the kit to go up there and fart around with. So, Andy Davis, how are you, buddy? Hang on one second. I gotta take the hoodie off real quick. Hang on one second. Just going off camera for a second. Take off the hoodie. Ugh. Ugh. All right. Getting a little warm down here. Big John, how are you, buddy? Yes, Soldier 44. I wanted to say I'm sorry for your loss. And yes, RIP, rest in peace, Nancy St. Pierre. I'm sorry for your loss 2 weeks ago when I didn't see you saying that. And to be honest, Rachel told me about it because she watches the lives in the mornings. She told me about it, and I felt like a shithead for not seeing it during the live. So I apologize, and I really pray for you and your mom as well. So God bless you, my friend. Janice, I'm doing well. I am doing well. Thank you for asking. Dude, that is awesome, Delirium. Dude, you got to take a picture of that. Take a picture of that and email that to me. Yeah, I really am sorry for I really didn't see it, and I really felt like a shithead about not seeing it. And then I tried to I tried to see if I had your email or anything so I could send you an email. Um, but I didn't. So once again, I'm sorry for your loss. I can only imagine. You know what's crazy is I crazy day. I'm not, but right from the very start of the day. Well, the start of the day was pretty good actually. It was pretty decent. Um, Rachel's mom's birthday is today, so happy birthday, Kathy. And so good morning. Some little shit happened earlier after that. And you know how like when something really happens, like you just get like bottled up, frustrated, and you feel like just you don't want to be in your skin anymore. And then I get a call from my mom, or excuse me, I call my mom to see how everybody is. And come to find out that my dad fell yesterday at 4:30 p.m., broke his wrist, fractured his neck, and hit his head. Is such a stubborn man that he didn't go to the hospital until today. Um, they once again, it's the same hospital that screwed him up the first time, and they sent him home. Um, he's home now, but he's got a couple of appointments that he's got to go to on Monday. I don't know why they would send him home. Um, but yeah, it's pretty insane. like I'm like, dude, and then I'm mad. I'm like, I was kind of chapped at my mom for not telling me. I was like, why didn't you tell me? But yeah, what a day. I'm literally happy. Minor aramid, but nothing. He mainly fell on his wrist, and how he landed, he must have, like, as he went up the step, fell on his neck too. But because of the blood thinners, they wanted to make sure that it wasn't a break, it was a fracture. Um, because of the blood thinner, in case he was like internally bleeding or something. But yeah, just like I'm like, why didn't you just call me? Like I would have been there in a second, dude. So, but yeah. Um, enough of that. Let's get some good shit going on here. He will, Hercules. He's a tough dude. But my friend, my sister, we're walking at night because it's relaxing, even fun sometimes. We're talking about creepy pastas, ancient myths from the world. I don't know why we did. I guess we were just in a scary mood. We reached this abandoned highway, which has a cemetery on one side toward my house and a small woods right next to this highway. It's pretty creepy at night. So we get there and walk up the road, but myself and my friend start having this dreadful feeling, nervous, like I'd never felt in my entire life. I noticed that whatever I was next to this forest, I felt horrified for no reason. We hear footsteps in the grass, but I am pretty sure it was just my mind playing to keep me aware of everything. So we reach the end of the road and touch the big board sign at the end. We touch it for fun and turn around because we hear something a little weird coming from the cornfields. We all run down because we were all thrilled yet scared in the moment. Due to this, we walk into the cemetery and think if we should try and find something in the cornfield. We decide that one of us would go out at a time and stand completely vulnerable in the middle of the cornfield. The point was to see if we could get something or hear any noises or sightings, because I was addicted to creepy pastas and any kind of stories that are scary. So Reed goes and tries first, sees two yellow eyes like a deer height above the ground. I thought maybe that could have been something, but wasn't for sure. So we came back the next night at exactly the same spot to see if we could get more evidence. We, of course, did stuff before, but nothing crazy, I don't think. So we go back to the next spot exactly. My sister goes in. She's all good for a few minutes until she screams at the top of her lungs and runs towards us. After a few minutes or a few seconds of running, she tells us what she saw. So she was standing when she saw two eyes about 6 feet in height. Then semi came by a illuminated creature. It was 6 feet in height, skinny, grayish white, up on two legs, really long hands, and it had a gaping mouth with small, sharp teeth, which is pretty creepy, to be honest. So, to make sure, me and my friend run out there and wait to see if we can see it. Instead, we hear the most creepy, demonic, croaking, groaning sound. It sounds like it is coming from every direction at once. My friend runs because he is scared as hell, and I follow because I don't want to be killed. So we walk through the cemetery and pass it. When we cross the street and head toward my house, my sister screams and rolls on the ground, covering her ears. She told us she heard an awful loud scream in her right ear when no one said a thing. Overall, this was the strangest and scariest experience of our lives. Robert Jarrett, how are you? Sonia, how are you? Definitely a crawler, Ermic. Definitely a crawler. John Rodriguez, how are you, my friend? Yeah, yes, Jay, it's Rachel's mom's birthday. Kathy, yes. So now if she watches the live stream tomorrow, she'll know I wished her a happy birthday on the live too. I don't know if y'all feel this way or commenting here. Oh, Rosie, don't do that to yourself. You are awesome. God bless you, and I love you. Well, thank you, Sonia. That's awesome. What's the difference between a dogman and a werewolf? Okay, so the difference between a dogman and a werewolf. Dogmen and werewolves are both bipedal. They're both cryptids. They both have fur. Difference is one, the dogman has hocked legs, has a long bushy tail or any kind of tail, stands about 6.5, 7, maybe 8 feet in height. Usually, I know people say that they've heard that they 13 feet. That's I don't know. I've heard on a dogman is like 8.5. To be honest with you, I think when people say they're 13 feet, they're blowing it out their ass and listening to a creepy pasta. That's just my own view. Um, Very long muzzle, long pointed ears. Werewolf, whereas a werewolf has straight legs, very much like a Bigfoot, no tail, a shorter muzzle, and is stronger, much stockier in build, no tail, and quite possibly, and I don't know this, I'm only going off what was told to me and to many of you guys, they have the ability of speech and they don't transform. Supposedly, our government uses them as weapons of war against their own people and others. So that's not, I'm only sharing what I've heard, and that's about it, honestly. So, Mo, how are you? Arthur, Arthur Ostrander, how are you, my friend? Mikey Turner, what's up, buddy? Long time, long time. Good seeing you, my friend. Good seeing you. Yes, he did give us some great stuff. You're absolutely right. Victor did give us some great stuff. I miss him. And the reason why I say what I say about, I wasn't there, I don't know, is because I wasn't. Do I take him for his word? Absolutely. Was I threatened by the CIA because of him? Absolutely. And those emails are on my community post page at cia.gov, ucia.gov. You can't create a .gov email address. So I 100% take Victor at his word or took him at his word. But I just say that out of, I never heard one speak. I've never seen one. Beast of Seven Shoots would be a perfect example of what a werewolf looks like. What's up, badass Ludo? How are you? The government? Yeah. Do you remember back when I was talking shit about Sheriff from Armando Fuentes out of Taylor, or not Taylor, Mississippi, out of Jesus, my brain just shut off. Out of Tennessee, and Amber Miller, Tony Aarons, they were both torn apart savagely. I was told to stop talking about them and not cool. The white van was during that same time as the CIA, Jane. It was like right in that area of Victor. So, Aramic, thank you again, Aramic. You guys are really too kind. Thank you. Thank you for everything you guys do for the channel. Are Dogman created or were they historic? They're historic. Here's the thing, you have to really think about this is what I do. I don't take uh any anybody what they say seriously until I've looked into it myself. And that's why I say look into it yourselves. Even if I'm saying it to you guys, like look into it. I'm not an expert. I don't think there is an expert in this field. And if someone says they are, chances are they're lying. Um, it's a pseudoscience on, mythological creatures that since, antiquity we're talking about back in the day, like, and it's kind of hard to say shit like this doesn't exist when you have, you know, cultures from all around the world at different times talking about the same creatures, since time immemorial. So definitely, definitely not created by the government. No, Tigger was not. Thank you very much, Cygnus. Thank you very much. Tigger was just he was having a bad day. I truly believe he's sundowning, but because he gets real weird at the end of the day. Like today, he got real weird, So, but D.L. Hemingway, that's crazy that you say that. At least the American government doesn't give flying lessons like Russia. I was watching, Rach and I were watching Chernobyl today, and I literally said, what a place, what a shitty place. One, it's a shitty thing that happened. I remember when it happened. I was freaking 10. But can you imagine that happening and you're being in Russia on top, the most closed, restricted country in the world, and the worst thing could, like, holy shit. Anunchka, how are you? Not he's sundowns, Maggie. He doesn't need playtime. He's literally old. He's old. He's definitely no, no, Rose. No, not doing that. Here's another thing. They take when things like that happen, they're not following guidelines, you know? You don't follow guidelines on YouTube, your shit gets taken down. You know what I mean? It's just, it's unfortunately it happens to people. I follow all the guidelines and I'm a good little YouTube creator, good little YouTube creator. But I will talk about things, but as long as you keep that steady medium, there are things that I won't talk about. But the two channels that you're talking about now, there were things that I think one was sharing videos that didn't belong to them. You can't do that on YouTube. And two, I don't know, but it, it's funny how they don't tell us what. YouTube tells you why they take down your channel. YouTube will tell you why. They don't just take it down and say, nah. Like when they give you a copyright strike or claim, they tell you what it's for and they give you a chance to try and fix it. They don't want to take channels down because one, they can put ad revenue on every channel they want, even if they're not, big enough to put ad revenue on. So it's things were not followed. That's the only reason. You know, Other than that, it sucks because I don't know one of them personally, but I know the guy, the the older fella. I know that he really enjoyed what he was doing. He was starting to write his own stuff. which he freely admitted. He reads a lot, he writes a lot, and he was pretty good at it, so it kind of sucks for him. But they give you a chance. They don't just say, you're done. You're done. So, well, they did it for a reason, SDL. I literally just told you the reason. All right. For some context, this was about 7 months. I've been thinking about it lately and thought maybe I could share my experience and finally give myself some information from other people's opinions. This is 100% real. And my girlfriend was with me at the time for credibility. I was not tripping. I live in Tennessee, 100% sober, slept fine the night before. Nothing was interfering with me to make this up in my head. I don't have any medical conditions other than ADHD. This experience happened, I would say, around 12 or 1 in the morning or so. So I own a small shed next to my house. I have a TV in the shed, so some nights I'll go out in the shed and hang out by myself, chill, and watch some movies. My girlfriend was over at the time, so we decided to go and watch a new movie that came out around that time. I have a cool TV setup in there, so it's sometimes better watching it in there than the house. Anyway, I always leave out the back door when I go to the shed. Most of the time, I usually leave it open until I come back in. I live in a less populated and non-sketchy neighborhood, so there's usually no problems with people being around or breaking in or anything. At the time, I owned a dog that was in the final stages of being deaf and blind. She's a small Yorkie Shih Tzu mix. She could barely see anything, if anything at all. Can you see where I'm going with this? I go back into the house after my movie with my girlfriend, and I go into the bathroom and notice I don't hear my dog walking around doing her nightly blind walks in the house. Usually, she'll snoop around the house for no reason, but I think it's because she couldn't see much or was getting dementia. So I look absolutely everywhere in the house, and she's nowhere to be found. My girlfriend and I are both dumbfounded and start thinking she somehow managed to leave through the back door. Take note. You have to go from a hallway to my room, to a back room, to the back door, to the back porch that is raised 4 to 5 feet off the ground. We decide we'll look around outside just in case she somehow managed to get lost and come off the back porch and fell off the back porch. She had to have fallen off because it's a pretty big drop, and she was almost completely blind, like I said. Well, we look for a bit and nothing, absolutely no sign of her anywhere, no blood from a fall, didn't hear any squeals. When we were in the shed prior, nothing. There's literally no sign she ever got out, but we searched absolutely everywhere. So there's a small patch of woods behind my house, and I thought if she escaped, surely she couldn't be too far. Anyway, we start walking out to the small patch of woods area to go look for her. I have my phone's flashlight on. My girlfriend is walking with me. All of a sudden, I start hearing a few leaves crunching, and I thought, thank God we found our dog. I put my flashlight over where I heard the leaves crunching, and I see a hooded figure. They're probably 15 to 20 feet away or more, and they are slowly walking pretty much at complete stop when I put the flashlight on them. I end up taking the flashlight off of them and tell my girlfriend there's somebody snooping around out here and we should probably go back. Next thing you know, I hear the leaves crunching again and I turn the flashlight towards where the figure was and I cannot believe my eyes. All of a sudden, it like switches to a tall gray figure running super fast to the left of the woods. This thing is absolutely faster than anything I have ever seen. As soon as I seen it do this, my whole body was just hit with a big wave of cold chills, like I can't even explain the feeling. It felt a bit of chills, went to the top of my head and then down to my toes. I absolutely book it, almost leaving my girlfriend behind. After we get back into the house, I asked her if she saw anything, and she said she didn't. She only heard the leaves crunching like something was running really fast. I just absolutely could not believe my eyes till this day. I still don't know what the hell it was. It was literally like someone in a hoodie and their hood over their face, and then it turns into a tall, skinny, gray figure, absolutely running faster than anything I had ever seen. We never found our dog and never found any proof of her getting out. We've checked every crevice of the house. I even posted on Facebook she's been missing, an effort for someone to help us find her. Nobody ever did. She's just now a memory. But it still makes me think of it to this day if what I saw is somehow connected to my dog disappearing. I overthink it, thinking like, what if it went into my house when the door was open and grabbed her or something? I'll never forget the experience, and that was my first ever encounter with something crazy like that. It actually kind of feels good to share this experience. Maybe others can relate. Ever since then, I have not encountered anything out of the ordinary, but I still feel paranoid when going into my shed when I can see the woods in the corner of my eyes. The day after the incident, we even explored the small wooded area to see if there was any proof of the creature being there or even if my dog. Nothing, no proof of either. I wish I knew what happened to my dog also, but I know at least she is not suffering from blindness or being deaf anymore. That's sad. That is that is sad. Like, can you imagine just like you're going to hang out in your cool shed, watch some movies with your girlfriend, your little dog's inside not doing nothing, and you looking. I'm not laughing at that. I'm saying like it's sad. I'd be pissed. I would be super pissed. I would be going in those woods every day looking for him or her or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I remember there was a time that I came home. I thought Tigger was gone. Um, I fucking flipped out, man. Flipped out. I'm running around the house, upstairs, running around downstairs. Tigger is only in a few places. He's under my desk sometimes. He's on that chair. He's on his chair right there. Or he's upstairs on the couch, or he's on my bed. Me and Rachel come home. She's outside looking for him. I'm freaking running around. I'm yelling at my daughter thinking she let him out by accident. I finally found him. He's in the corner of the freaking back room. My cat used to steal stuff. What's up, Slay Slay? From the Outer Banks. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us. Van Turner. I'm glad that you're here, man. I'm glad that you're here with us. What time is it? We got 52 minutes in. All right, this is what we'll do. I've been there, Ghostly World. It's not cool, man. It's because you like love. I love Tigger, even though like my infection in my leg was gross. It hurt really bad, like so bad. The infection, my finger. He got me in the finger. I'm not flipping you the bird. Like I don't know if you guys can see that gash right there. But he got me there. He got me there on the top of my finger here. He scratched me on my arm too. He messed me up that day. But if he disappeared an hour later, I would be pissed. Pissed. This happened years ago. I was, I believe, in 7th grade. I am now preparing to start college. I was sharing my room with my little brothers, as well as a bunk bed. I had the top bunk. It was summer. And since it got really stuffy in the room, we would install window fans. Being a light sleeper, woke up in the middle of the night to hear light rhythmic scratching on the screen and raspy breathing. Rolled onto my stomach, peered over the side of the bed. My pillow was directly across from the window. And I saw exactly what can be described. It was extremely pale, had long, thin limbs, no clothing, no hair, and nose or visible ears. very thin lips. Eyes were sunken. At the time, I thought they were glowing, but now I believe they were just eye shine. It was lightly scratching on the screen and looking around the room. I never got the feeling that it noticed me watching it, though it wasn't trying to get in, neither. It wasn't feverish, it was just making noise. I watched it in silent fear for, I guess, a minute or two, but it probably wasn't even that long. Eventually, I crawled backwards down the ladder into the living room where I spent the rest of the night curled up on the couch. As for the height, it had to have been at least 7 feet in height because it was hunched over at the window. The window itself is 5.5 feet off the ground. There was also another incident a couple months later where my family and I went on a camping trip with my Boy Scout troop. One of the kids owned property in the middle of nowhere. I live in central Illinois, and we set up camp deep in the forest. I woke up in a big family tent and I heard light scratching again, long, rhythmic on the nylon. I could see the impression of a long finger being made on the wall. I just lie there quietly until it moved away and even heard it repeat its process on the other tents in the campsite before it wandered off. I didn't say a thing until my dad pulled me aside the next morning and said he heard the same thing which woke him up. One last detail, before we went to sleep in our tents, there was a long haunting scream from the woods. It sounded like a hybrid of a person and some animal being killed or howling one last sound of pain. Everything fell silent. Everyone stood there. Keep in mind that these were experienced woodsmen. They had not heard anything like that before in their lives. Fox vocalization is noticeably canid. Mountain lion sounds distinctly feline. This was completely unnatural. Damn good. Damn good scary story right there. What's up, Nikola Tesla? How are you? Welcome to the show tonight. New time. Nothing new at Mount Shasta, man. Shut up your face. I hope you're not talking about the time wise, because I did give people the heads up on the new time. Part-time astronaut, thank you very much. Crypt Keeper, what's up? How are you? We got almost 200 people in right now. That's good. That's good. New time. Does anyone know what time it is? SDL. I did an upload about an update on that. I'm gonna share the Lizzo story with you guys, and then I'll share an update. But do you guys want to hear a Lizzo story or no? You guys tell me. Lizzo story? It's up to you. Up to you guys. Okay. All right. It's off. So I got to read it on my phone. My printer shit the bed, so I apologize. The Rusty Acre wasn't so much a truck stop as it was a fever dream squatting on a desolate stretch of blacktop 20 miles outside of New Orleans. The neon sign buzzed with a frantic rhythm of dying insect, flickering heat and gas in a way that suggested the ghost of Elvis might be working the deep fryer. The queen of this neon purgatory was Lizzo. She wasn't a pop star, but she possessed the same magnetic, take no prisoner charisma. Lizzo was the lot lizard queen, a woman of formidable stature and sharper wit who ran the stop like a sovereign nation. Beneath her jurisdiction huddled a motley court, sweat-stained long haulers, drifters with secrets they kept in duct-tape duffel bags, and a rotating cast of grifters who knew better than to stiffer from a tab. And then there was Earl. Earl was a trucker whose rig looked like it had been held together by prayer and bird spit. He was also Lizzo's boy toy, a man whose devotion was as thick as the humidity in the Louisiana summer. Whenever Lizzo strutted across that parking lot in her rhinestone-studded platforms, snapping her gum and Barking orders to the night manager, Earl hovered nearby like a sunburned bodyguard, ready to fight anyone who looked at her sideways. One humid Tuesday, the air turned static. The local crickets went silent, replaced by a low guttural thrum of voodoo drum beating somewhere in the cypress trees. Lizzo was behind the diner counter, pouring a coffee for a chain smoking waitress when the front door swung open with a bang that didn't sound like wood hitting the frame. It sounded like a curse being cast. In walked a man draped in furs that smelled like wet rot and an ancient swamp mud. He was a shaman, or at least that's what he claimed to be, though he looked more like a homeless wizard who had fallen into a taxidermy shop. Without a word, he tossed a handful of bone dust in the air before Earl could even draw his pocket knife. The shaman lunged, snagging Lizzo by the wrist. With a strength that defied his spindly frame, he dragged her out into the encroaching darkness. Earl, get my damn heels! Lizzo shrieked, her voice echoing into the swamp. Earl did not hesitate. He grabbed his tire iron, signaling the motley crew. A one-eyed drifter named Ratchet Pete, a waitress named Brenda, who carried a taser for special occasions, and three truckers who were itching for a reason to skip their logbook hours and plunged into the marsh. The swamp was alive with a kind of spooky nonsense that keeps city folk away. Spanish moss hung like a hangman's noose, and the water glowed with a sickly phosphorus green. They found the shaman at the center of this ancient hollowed out oak tree. Lizzo was strapped to a slab of limestone, her arms pinned by shimmering ethereal vines. The shaman was chanting in a tongue that sounded like gravel grinding in a blender. The blood on the highway calls, he hissed, brandishing a rusty dagger. Tonight, the queen of the asphalt becomes the mother of the Rougarou, a beast of fur and fury, bound to the moonlight and the mud. Lizzo, never one for dramatic flair unless she was in control of it, rolled her eyes. Look, buddy, I've had a station in Biloxi. If you think I'm growing hair in places I don't want it, you got another thing coming. Now, Earl, Lizzo bellowed. Earl didn't go for a subtle approach. He emerged from the foliage like a freight train with a grudge. He bypassed that shaman's magical barriers by simply tripping over the cypress knee and stumbling headfirst into the ritual circle. His heavy steel-toed boots caught the shaman square in the solar plexus, sending the mystic flying into a patch of hungry marsh lilies. The shaman gasped, his magical glow fizzled out like a short-circuited light bulb. You mortals have no respect for the ancient arts. And you have no respect for a woman's schedule, Earl grunted, hauling Lizzo off the stone slab. The motley crew descended, Brenda deployed, illuminating the swamp like a strobe light at a rave, and Ratchet Pete swung a rusted hubcap with surprising precision, pinning the shaman's robe to a tree. Turn me into a wolf, would you? Lizzo snapped. She leaned over the whimpering shaman, her manicured nails sharp enough to draw blood. I'm already the only thing this highway's running, you swamp rat reject. Don't you ever try to poach my territory again. With the shaman sufficiently disgraced and left to ponder his life choices while tangled in his own robes, the crew stood up in a knee-deep mud, catching their breath. The terrifying aura of the swamp suddenly felt less like a supernatural nightmare and more like a soggy convenience store parking lot. So, swamp grime offers sequence. Who's hungry? And more importantly, who's driving us to the French Quarter? I got a thirst that only a hurricane from Pat O'Brien's can fix. The trek back to the trucks was a victory march. The monsters of the swamp had been bested by the monsters of the interstate. 2 hours later, the lot lizards, the truckers, and the queen herself pulled up to a neon-soaked streets of New Orleans in a convoy of 18-wheelers, blocking off a side street near Bourbon Street. They spilled out of the rigs a glorious mess of grease-stained denim, cheap perfume, and pure, unadulterated swagger. The locals stared, but they did not dare cross them. Lizzo walked at the front, Earl glued right to her side, with Brenda and the others trailing like a rowdy royal guard. They took over a dive bar, the jukebox blaring rock and roll that shook the floorboards. As the night wore on, the terror of the swamp became a campfire story laughed away over rounds of cheap bourbon and stolen cigarettes. Lizzo stood on a bar stool, toast held high, the undisputed queen of the night. To the highway, she shouted, her voice raspy and triumphant. And to anyone who thinks they can mess with the rusty anchor, you'd better bring more than a bone and a bad attitude. The bar cheered. Earl beamed mud off his cheek, feeling like the luckiest man in the whole world. Outside, the city of New Orleans hummed with its own dark magic. But for one night, the swamp truckers and their queen owned every bit of it, ready to party until the neon blinked out and the sun dared rise over the bayou again. All right, Mr. Shacklenack, thank you so much, big guy. Thank you, Brett. I love you, brother. Truly, truly love you. Thank you so much. I am glad you're here with us tonight. Lizzo is definitely a woman of prestige. Prestige, my friends. I'm glad you guys liked that one. That one was good, right? Little Rugo Roo. Rugo Roo. Thanks, Jess. Thank you, Janie. Tigger. Thank you. Shut up your face. Oh, I know. No, shut up your face. Thank you. Thank you. I know. Why wouldn't you warn? Dude, you just go to sleep? What happened the next night? That's like the guy who asks you, "Hey, if you wake up with your butt kind of sore and some grease there, would you tell anyone?" And of course you're going to say, "Nope." And then he says, "Go camping." That's that kid right there. See Chili, you're right here. Right here is the best place to talk to people that researching these creatures. All right, I'm going to be honest with you, and YouTube is an all right place to go. You have to be careful of what you listen to, for one. And then when you do find a place that you like and trust, you can't trust them 100%. You always have to research what they say, um, myself included. I never once said, take me to 100%. I always tell you guys to research anything I say, because one, I may be wrong. You know, it's a pseudoscience. There is no experts. Um, Start reading some books. Start with get Skinwalker in the Pentagon. Um, Skinwalker in the Pentagon. Danny Van Drimmy's Them and Us. And then some different other books. Get some any other kind of books that you my new book, me and Jimmy's new book, so you can have so you can hear some experiences. The key to the researching these things is listening to the experiences or reading the experiences, seeing similarities, looking into the news to see what you can find, this and that. That's the best I can give you. Boots on the ground research, that's you, brother. That's you. I would do it with you. Get a buddy. Go with the buddy system, someone that you trust. You live in West Virginia. I don't know where you live. If you live closer to Mercer, um, area in that area of Mercer, Tazewell, Virginia, um, Smith, hot spots, baby. That's hot spots right there. But get someone to go with you. Someone 100%. Oh, yes, Raleigh County. Yes, I know, right? I have a lot of experiences from that area. You can do Google disappearances in your area. Google disappearances in different counties around that area. Look and start listening to experiences. Start taking those experiences that you've listened to and kind of apply them to that area. Find different, you know what I'm saying? That's the best way I can. I When I started doing it, it was because I had my own encounter and an obsession was born, you know? So the best thing is that's the best way I can tell you what to do, my friend. I made it. What's up, Christopher? How are you? I'm glad that you're here with us. I'm glad that you're here. Crystal, how are you? So, see, Chili, you've been to exactly where yes. So, like, that's another thing why I say don't believe anybody. Yes, Ermic, tell us a joke, please. Did I miss your joke? You can't trust anyone, like research constant, like honestly, even if you do trust them, still look at their shit, question everything. That's the best with Bigfoot is sometimes confused with Sasquatch, yet he never complains. No, that was good, buddy. That was good. I'm gonna remember that one. I'm gonna have to tell Big Jim about that one. I never got an email about the Conjuring House, John. Nope. But yeah, best thing to do is just boots on the ground. Go out, get a buddy that you trust, that you know will have your back, and go to town. That's the only thing I can say. Other than that, read as much as you can. Oh shit, that's what I was gonna say. Where's that on my folder? Where's my folder? Hang on one second. Okay, so the new news of that SDL, you asked about the Pittsburgh County, Oklahoma breakthrough DNA. The DNA was a dog, but we all know it wasn't. We all know it wasn't. And I'm not going to even talk about. I'm not. The information, you can Google it. I believe it was a lie. I believe the homeowners, the in police investigation, when they found the woman, the homeowner was doing life-saving procedures on the person. Law enforcement was on the scene. They didn't see a fucking crazy dog. If they did, they would have taken it and put it down right then and there. Now it's dog DNA, but it's nothing we've seen in 30 years. Never seen an attack that bad in 30 years. Bullshit. And there's a lot of I right now I'm kind of disappointed with how media and the local government handled it. I'm also disappointed in a couple other things, the two videos that I talked about. When I made the phone call, I made sure that you guys could hear the ring and the answer and who I was talking to. Not just some dude claiming to be some dude that knew some dude that doesn't sound like that dude on YouTube when that dude did an interview a long time ago about something different. If you know what I mean. Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard about that. That's Matt. I know a few different people. There's a few people that I know personally. One that I know personally that are going to buy it. I had the opportunity of meeting that a bigger YouTube channel, huge YouTube channel, like millions of subscribers. They want to buy it. I own house, to be honest with you, is Corey and his wife, the original owners from like 6 or 7 years ago. They were true believers, true paranormal researchers. They sold it to a real estate lady who used it as a money grab. Places like that shouldn't be used as money grabs. No, it was definitely not a dog. It was definitely not a dog. Delirium, your video scares the shit out of me. Whatever you got back there is scary. It is a shame, Aramic. You're right, 100%. Listen, Rosie, you got to send me some of those stories that you've heard because I'd like to hear it. Because in Sangre de Cristo, in those mountains, I believe there's a deep underground facility there that extends from that area down into New Mexico. And I'd love to hear those stories, Rosie. Please. Please, 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 please. Or hell, if you don't mind, I can give you a call and record it for everyone to hear. If you're up for that, if you'd be up for that, I'd do that too. My grandmother from Texas, because 100%. San de Cristo, I don't know if you guys can see. Right here is Colorado. San de Cristo Mountains are right here. Archuleta Mesa, there's so many disappearances, so many attacks, so many strange things that just happened within this region here. Happen at all. So a pale demon is what they're called. Crawlers they were called pale demon in Virginia by DJ. He had heard the government talking about it. Rosie, don't do that to yourself. I bet it's fine. But no, not Pale Walker. Pale Demon is what I've heard, and that's a crawler. I've never heard of Pale Walker. Question for you: is there anything I can do to increase my odds of seeing one of these things with Catfin last week and her vocalization, Bigfoot? Try to record it. Try to record that. But my best bet to you is you don't want to increase your chances. I don't know if you've ever seen the video when I was up where Tom Mesick disappeared, and I'm sitting on a rock. I've got a camera in front of me. I'll never forget the story I'm talking about. I'm talking about Yakima, Washington story, Marine guy. The woods blow up behind me, and I grab my camera, my bag, and I start running down the mountain. and I see something behind me veer up into the mountain where I found the three stacked rocks. Strangely enough, is all that whole area is just scary. Um, do what you do. Don't leave gifts on anything. Don't you know? You don't want to f around and find out. Just go in the woods, look for strange things, record sounds. Best bet. If you're meant to see one of these things, you're meant. Other than that, I mean, if you want to put something out and leave it there and whatever, but and bring some sort of protection with you. Best bet. I did a video on that SDL. I did a video on the Wilcox case. Actually, I think I was on Monday, to be honest with you. I believe he was assassinated. There's just too much information. The 911. I shared the 911 stuff from the local sheriff's department out there. The whole call log, the whole deputy information, and he was silenced. He was silenced for what he was talking about and what he knew. So yeah, it's terrible. It's fucking crazy. I know I talk about my fiance a lot, but she's a huge part of my life now. And she was talking about, I didn't know he had passed. I didn't really, I knew who he was by the look, by his face, but I didn't listen to him. And then when she talked about it to me, I was like, wait, what? I was sitting on the couch and she was scanning on her phone. I just turned, so if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even known about that happening until it was too late. And then the second I heard about it and she told me who he was and this and that and more, because I don't watch other channels. I don't watch, I very rarely watch videos. But I looked into it, and then, when he a few days prior on a live stream says he is anti unaliving yourself because you will not be sat with Christ. And then he unalives himself. Something like that just doesn't mix. You don't talk about unaliving yourself as a sin a few days prior to doing it. It just doesn't make sense. And then ironically enough, family members, they say that there is no conspiracy. Well, why bring it up if there isn't one? I think there is. I think they knew there was. And that was kind of their hint. Hey, there was something fucking fishy that happened here, guys. Check into it. Look into it. People don't say stuff for no reason, Things are, unless you're a real idiot, but he was not an idiot. So, What's up, Lake Superior? How are you? He did. He did. There's a lot that doesn't add up. It's disgusting. So that's my take on the few of the things that. Another thing, thank Tigger for this. Thank my cat. Thank the channel's mascot for this bullshit because I wanted to get new information for you this week, but Tigger messed it all up for you. 2 weeks ago, they had a small team of park rangers go into the woods where Tom Mezek appeared again. I've been going there for 5 years now. And that's minus the one time that I was told by a ranger to get the hell out of there when he pulled up next to me on the UTV that time. I've never heard or seen any rangers up there. So, 2 weeks ago, you got some rangers going up to check stuff out. That's a little fishy. Something smells not too good. When I was born, I was so surprised I couldn't speak for a year and a half. Tigger's our people. Yes, he's quite the person. I'm a personal believer of Bigfoot and other supernatural things, but I have never shared anything about it anywhere until now, of course. This happened about 4 years ago in a small town in Washington, Chuale, Chu, Chuale. If I pronounce that wrong, it's in Washington, Chuale, Washington. My girlfriend, now ex, not that that matters. At the time, and I decided to plan a getaway trip, long weekend in a yurt. Since both loved nature, going to a place far away from the city in the middle of nowhere seemed like a good time. And it truly was a great time. The thing that stuck with me the most staying in that yurt was how dark and quiet it was in the middle of the night. When you're not used to being in the wilderness, it's quite striking how silent things can be and how dark it is outside, with no light pollution involved. The outhouse where we had to stay was 75 yards from the yurt. You had to take a flashlight to navigate the darkness. The first night we were there, nature called. I went outside to find the bathroom, shined the flashlight that cut through the darkness like a lightsaber, and spotted eye shine. It was nothing more than a good sized female deer, but I would have no idea she was there if I didn't see those eyes via the flashlight. The actual encounter happened our last night there at approximately 11 p.m. to around midnight. We were playing cards inside of the yurt by the fire when out of nowhere we heard this huge crash bang on the side of the yurt, almost as if something threw itself into the side of it or was running and didn't see where it was going until it was too late. Obviously startled, we wanted to see what made such a racket. As we are in the middle of nowhere, but we are still on the property that and not very much deep into the woods, not deep, not too I can't speak. Sorry guys. And not very deep in the woods for it to have been a bear or mountain lion. At least I thought so. What happens next is hard to explain. I threw open the door, shined my flashlight like I did every night prior to when I saw the deer, and I saw something in that same spot, but it was different. It had no eye shine. I only saw it for a moment, but it looked white or gray, and it had a slender build. Moved. It seemed to crouch down while looking in my direction, slinking away out of the frame like a big cat or monkey might move out of the way. And then I never saw the thing after. I didn't want to investigate because shit, I was scared shitless, and it might have been a cougar or something. And I am not trying to die in front of my girlfriend, even if she left me not long after. That aside, whatever I saw was unlike anything I had ever seen before. I did not make it out its face. I had heard someone talking before on your channel, and I had heard them mention something called a crawler. Well, it doesn't remind me of a Bigfoot or Dogman, but that crawler creature, well, that sends shivers down my spine, and I believe that's what we saw. Thank you. All right. There's a reason why Lake Superior that it's not YouTube. It's not YouTube Lake Superior. It's something other than. And when people read, there's a reason why they haven't shared why or what they did. YouTube, once again, I talked about this a little while ago before you were here, so it's not your fault that you didn't hear it. YouTube doesn't take channels off. They don't regularly do that. They don't want to do that, is one, regardless of what you're talking about. You know, Vic Cundiff has been on YouTube for thousands of years. Dark Waters has been on YouTube for, thousands of years. Not really, but you know what I mean? Those two are probably the two longest channels that talk about cryptids. They're still up. There's things called policy and procedure. You don't follow policy and procedure, you end up not having a channel, you know, unfortunately. And like I said, one of the channels, the older fella, he loved what he was doing. He was starting to write his own stuff. He even said it on his channel. I'm writing stuff. I'm creating stuff. I'm doing stuff. You know, he's living his dream. He's reading a lot. I don't know why people didn't hear or see that, but he really, it was expressing himself, and he sounded great, because I looked into it because I was scared. I was like, wait. And then the other channel, there was another channel that you didn't mention, but you're sharing videos that don't belong to you, you know. There's copyright, and when you do that and you get hit with copyright claims or strikes, eventually they take you off. There's always a reason. And YouTube will give you a reason, They don't want to just shut that. It's ad revenue for them. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it sucks. It sucks. I feel bad for one of them who I had just mentioned, because he sounded great. I thought he was AI until I listened to it. I was like, holy shit, this feller's good, but he was writing stuff, he was doing great shit on his own, just living. He shared true experiences, but he also was talking about how I love writing, I love reading, and that sucks. But something happened where policy and procedure wasn't followed, Other than that, they're not taking channels down because they don't want to. They lose money that way, especially channels that have views, And if that was the case, I would be hard pressed to say they would be targeting channels that had been on YouTube for a lot longer. They just don't pop off and be like, oh, like I said, Vic Cundiff and Dark Waters have been on YouTube for years, staples in this community. They're still up. Rumble is definitely not the way to go. YouTube is where it's at. YouTube is where it always would be at. It's not Rumble's shit. YouTube is the place where it is at. We have freedom here. Just because like people say they don't, YouTube is where it's at. I 100%. Well, I love YouTube. I don't. This channel has literally saved my life. You know what I mean? Like, I started this channel 6 months after I got sober. A year after I got sober, excuse me. And to be honest with you, you guys, this channel, the effort that I put into reading stuff and researching and sharing with you guys is a huge reason I'm still sober today. Strong will and the honesty factor, being honest. YouTube is great. I don't have anything negative to say about YouTube at all. Rose, I can't wait to talk to you on that. I literally cannot wait to hear your experiences. Bob P, Nightmare, how are you? Thank you, Easy. Appreciate that. I agree. And I've been on Suboxone. I was sober 10 years, April 24th. And I was a junkie, drug addict, opiate drug addict for 22 years of my life. 22 years. I needed help. I could not. Suboxone to me is a miracle drug. Some people use it illegally. I take it as doctor prescribed, and I have no issues. It's literally part of my everyday. It's just like when I take my vitamins. I take that and I come down, have a cup of coffee, start looking at stuff, start researching. There's no, I think if you start like monkeying around with other shit, then you're kind of not sober, you know, things that aren't prescribed by doctors. But if it's under doctor mandate and under care and stuff like that, then you're sober. I don't like when people are like, oh, you're on Suboxone. Oh, you're on methadone. You're not sober. The fuck I'm not. I'm not drinking beers. I'm not smoking fucking crack. I'm not doing this. I'm sober. I'm sober, you know? So that's the way I look at it. That's just me. Thank you for everybody saying congratulations. But, you know, it's to me, it's, you know, a miracle. Yeah, it does, Smitty. It does. But I'd rather deal with that than, you know, put it this way, you know, anything is going to destroy your teeth. And I'd rather have been on Suboxone and ruined the enamel on my teeth for those years than not have a life. I have a life now. So that's the way I look at it. Awesome, easy, awesome. The only thing I love caffeine, and I have to have my Juul. You know, I need nicotine. I don't think I can quit nicotine. Big Bill, I might have him on soon. I've had him on twice. Super nice guy. But yeah, I don't know who you're talking about prior to that though. So I can't comment on that. But Bill, yeah, great guy. No, it's the way I look at it is ciggies are bad for you. Ciggies will make you stink like shit and fucking gross and but Mo, I smoked for goddamn, when did I quit? Right around the time I got sober, I got introduced to the Juul. Aromatic. I'm not sure. I have not spoken to DJ in a while. Thank you for bringing that up, Brian Mons. I'll have to get in touch with him, actually. But try a Juul. Try a Juul and give it an honest shake, dude. It'll help you. Yeah, that's some bad stuff, Sparkle. Kratom is bad. I've heard good and bad stuff about it. I just don't. To me, doctor, you know. But each to their own. If people can stay sober, stay sober. I feel like my life has changed 100%. You know, I have a great YouTube channel. You guys are what makes it great. I didn't make it great. You have a great YouTube channel. I had the opportunity to have this book written by me and Jimmy. I have 3 audiobooks. I have 2 great daughters that sometimes I love them all times, but sometimes I dislike them. I love them. I have a beautiful and wonderful fiance. Society has been nothing but a treasure. So if you can, it's just grab it and fucking stay with it. That's the only thing. If there's a person out there that has a problem, you know, and you're freaking itching, just grab it by the horns and hold on, because it's a tough ride, but you'll be able to do it and get through it. You know, once you're past the first, I'm not even going to say 30 days. I'm going to say 90 days, to be honest with you, you know, is the hardest part. Then you're good. You're good after that. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm just ignore. I'm just. No, you're not, Rosie. Stop saying that. And I can't wait to talk to you soon. So please don't forget about that. I really, really, really want to talk with you. Congratulations, Brian Mons. Jeff or Jay Cortez, how are you? No, no, do not send chicory to me, Jay Cortez, but send me an email and I'll give you that. All right. A friend of mine that I was friends with back home in Washington State told me his two encounters he had. He was a truck driver and drove across the United States. Everyone who has seen semis knows how tall the hood is from the ground up. Well, he was driving one night in the rain somewhere in the Midwest going the normal speed limit, 60 miles an hour. He had seen something bipedal and canine looking running out of the patch of the woods that he was driving past. He didn't have much time to react, hit the brakes in time. The head of the creature stood over the top of the hood of his truck. He hit it, and he ran it over and watched it get spit up behind the truck on the back driver's side. He made his delivery and was on his way back since it was only a two-lane highway, looked at where he knew he had hit this creature, slowed down. Since it was late at night, there was no traffic. There was some blood on the road, but not a lot. He pulled off to the side of the road, got out of his rig with a rifle with him, safety precaution, and crossed the road. He grabbed a flashlight as well to make sure that if whatever he had hit was not suffering, well, there wasn't anything in the ditch. And he had shown that light to the embankment above the ditch towards the woods, didn't see anything out of the ordinary there. But as he was scanning the woods with his light, he got a feeling of being watched, and every hair on his body was standing on end. He immediately went back across the road to his truck, got in, and left. When he had made it back to the main location to get orders, he had a dent in the hood and a fur in his grill. He did have it tested because he was curious about what it was, and it did come back canine. So, for some context, I'm a woman, and so is my wife. Bit of background. About 5 years ago, while I was in beauty school, I had two friends over to help pack up my apartment before my move. Plan was they'd help me pack, and I'd supply some drinks and a place to crash before we went all to class the next day. One of the girls gets way, way drunk out of nowhere while only having a few drinks. She passes out on the couch. The other friend and I decide that it's probably for the best that we go to sleep as well. Not long after this, the other friend runs into my room to tell me the other girl just puked while she was in her sleep. So we, being young and not knowing better, decide that we should put her in the tub and turn on the shower. That's what we do in the movie, or that's what they do in the movies, right? Well, she wakes up and her voice is different, and she's now being downright mean. She keeps taunting me, saying that she'll always find me no matter where I go. So this goes on for hours until we're finally able to get a hold of her boyfriend, and he comes and gets her. Fast forward to now, my wife and I are hanging out, having a couple drinks. Suddenly, my wife is nauseous out of nowhere, runs to the bathroom and throws up. Once her stomach settles, she asks if I'm okay with her lying down. I agree with her and said it's probably for the best. So she lies down. I'm on the toilet. Suddenly, she stumbles back down the hallway, way more drunk than she was before. I ask her if she's going to be sick again, and she says yes. I quickly move out of the way, and she gets sick again. When she's done, she goes to the sink to rinse out her mouth. While I rub her back, she slowly turns around to look at me with the most terrifying look on her face. Her eyes were dead, and she had an ear to ear grin. I said, "Hey, that's not funny." And she did not respond, just stares. I repeat myself, "That's not funny." To which she replies, "Punch me. Just effing punch me." I said, "No, I'm not going to punch you," and walked out of the bathroom. She then calls me out asking where I am. I turn around and she's fine, totally sober sounding and not stumbling like a moment ago. I ask her about it, and she has zero memory of anything just happening. I obviously got something following me. What do I do? Should I call a priest, a Reiki practitioner? I'll probably need to have two attachments severed. One for me because this thing is following me, and the other for my wife who just is unlucky. Literally, any and all advice is welcome. Thank you. If a book fell and hit Jeff in the head, he's only his shelf to blame. Oh, shut up your face. That's good, buddy. I don't know. I don't know. Aramic's joke was priceless. The Sasquatch had a problem with Bigfoot. Aramic, will you tell us that again, please? Because I'm not going to be able to remember that. Smitty, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, I'm more lucky than she is, to be honest with you. And I'm not just saying that because she's going to watch this, but I truly mean that. Like I'm blessed, literally blessed. You know, I am lucky. Um, but Bigfoot is sometimes confused with Sasquatch, yet Yeti never complains. That is so good. Hang on. Bigfoot is sometimes confused with Sasquatch. Yeti never complains. Such a good freaking, such a good joke. Bandito, what's up, buddy? All right. I think it's time. I think it's time for a lot lizard story. Is it time? Not sure yet, Rosie. Not sure yet. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you. I am very, very lucky. I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know. We're figuring it out. You know, we're figuring it out. It's gonna be for us. You know what I mean? Like we're both older now. It's more or less. We've known each other since we were little kids, practically. We were freaking young teenagers when we met. She was the girl that I had my experience with. She's the girlfriend that I had my she's the one that yelled vampire. It's I I'm blessed, truly blessed. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's a joke. 888 wisdom. It was a joke. Sasquatch, of course, Bigfoot and Sasquatch are the same. All right, lot lizard story. The neon sign above the greasy spoon in Fuel Haven hummed with the sound of dying insects casting a sick, pulsating pink glow over the asphalt of most desolate stretch of the Arkansas Highway. This was the domain of Lizzo, and I know it's Arkansas, the undisputed queen of the lot lizards. She sat perched on the hood of a rusted out Ford, her hair teased into a tower of blonde defiance, her nails painted the color of a fresh bruise. Lizzo was royalty here. She commanded the stray girls, the weary drifters, and the grease stained mechanics who called the diner home. And then there was Earl Heavy Metal Johnson. Earl was a man who looked like he had been carved out of a hunk of hickory and left to age in a vat of diesel. He played air guitar on his steering wheel and wore a denim vest that smelled permanently of Marlboro Reds and regret. He was Lizzo's boy toy, her king in waiting, and tonight he was busy arguing with a coffee machine that had clearly seen better decades. The diner door swung at around 2 a.m., silencing the jukebox. In walked a man who looked like he had been plucked from a child's fever dream. He was 3 feet tall, wearing a velvet robe that looked like it had been salvaged from the dumpster behind the Renaissance Fair, and a pointy hat adorned with glittery stars that were slowly flaking off into the linoleum. I am Waldo the Great, the man shrieked, his voice sounding like two pieces of sandpaper rubbing together. And I have come to claim the queen of the lot. Lizzo, you are the prize I seek for my dark sorcery. The room went dead silent. A trucker named Big Sal dropped his fork. Lizzo hopped off the Ford, her eyes narrowed. Listen, glitter tits, you got about 3 seconds to get back into whatever magical Prius you crawled out of before I rearrange your face. Well, he swept his hands in the air, sending a shower of sparkles towards Earl. The giant in denim shall perish first. A challenge, a duel of titans. Earl wiped his hands on his pants and stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. You want a duel, short stack? I'll show you how we handle business in Arkansas. Earl lunged at, but Waldo was not interested in a fair fight. As Earl closed the distance, Waldo vanished in a puff of sulphury smelling smoke, reappearing on top of the counter like a demonic squirrel. He waved a crooked stick of oak, and before Earl could land a punch, the air in the diner dropped 40 degrees. A terrifying crystalline blue light erupted from the wizard's wand, engulfing Earl within seconds. The king of the lot was encased in a solid, terrifying block of ice. He stood there, eyes wide, mouth mid-shout, frozen statue of pure, unadulterated shock. He is mine now, Waldo cracked, pointing his wand at Lizzo, and you, queen, shall serve as my footstool for all eternity. Lizzo did not flinch. She grabbed a heavy-duty cast iron skillet from behind the grill and looked at her crew. Girls, mechanics, listen up. Nobody freezes my man and walks out of this zip code with a pulse. Let's show this hack what real Arkansas. The diner erupted. It was a chaotic, bloody mess. The lot lizards, who usually spent their nights avoiding trouble, now waded into a fray of Valkyries. One girl, a sharp-tongued veteran named Trixie, slammed a bottle of high-proof moonshine over Waldo's head. The glass exploded in a shower of amber shards. Waldo screeched, firing bolts of purple lightning that set the racks of Slim Jims ablaze. A mechanic named Bubba, wielding a rusted lug wrench, charged the wizard, only to be turned into a small, confused toad. The toad hopped away, chirping indignantly. Focus, you idiots! Lizzo screamed over the din of shattering plates and wizardly cackles. His wand is the source. Break the wand. Break the spell. Lizzo charged, dodging a volley of floating salt shakers that were being hurled with a lethal velocity. Waldo let out a blast of force that knocked 3 truckers through the front window, but Lizzo was relentless. She slid across that greasy floor, the skillet held high like a sacred relic. She saw the opening, the moment Waldo stopped to cackle at a burning napkin, and she swung. Clang! The cast iron skillet connected with the wizard's head with the resonance of a cathedral bell. Waldo staggered, his wand wobbled, and Lizzo didn't stop. She grabbed the wizard by his velvet robes, hauled him over her shoulder, and slammed him face first into the floorboards. As he gasped for air, she snatched the wand from his shaking grip. You want to play wizard? Lizzo growled, her eyes burning with a terrifying intensity. Let's see how you like physical planes. She shoved the wand into the pocket of the wizard's robe, snapped it in two, and then, in a display of pure, red-blooded audacity, found the closest thing she could reach, a sturdy, industrial-grade broom leaning against the mop bucket. With a maneuver that would have made any combat medic blush, she wedged that handle of the broom firmly into the wizard's posterior. Consider yourself evicted, she spat. With a final, desperate incantation that sounded like a cat being put through the wood chipper, Waldo began to dissolve. His body turned into a swarm of angry, buzzing hornets that zipped out the door into the night. As the magic faded, the ice block behind them cracked with a sound of gunshot. Earl stumbled forward, shivering, his teeth chattering like a machine gun. He shook the frost from his beard, looked at the chaos, looked at the broom less handled, sticking out of the floor where the wizard had been, and then looked up at the lizard queen Lizzo. Did we win? Earl tossed the skillet aside and exhaled, wiping a smudge of grease and soot from her forehead. She walked over, wrapping her arms around his frozen neck and kissed him hard. We won, Earl, she said, pulling back to look at the wreckage of her kingdom. The diner was a disaster zone. The toad mechanic was slowly turning back into a human. The sun was beginning to bleed over the horizon. But you're buying the next round of coffee, and I mean the expensive stuff. The truckers cheered, the lot lizards high-fived, and in the distance a rogue hornet sounded suspiciously like a man screeching in a high-pitched voice. The things at the Greasy Spoon returned to normal. The chaotic rhythm, though the broom handle remained a trophy of the night of the queen of the lot lizards, sent the wizard packing with a souvenir up his booter hole, and one that he would never forget. Well, thank you. Thank you. This happened a few years ago, and it has stuck with me since purely because of how terrifying it was. So, me and my brother have the same room. We have a double roof bed, and I sleep on the upper part. The bed isn't really comfortable, and whenever I sleep on it, my back would hurt in the morning. Point is, I would occasionally go and sleep with my mom since her bed is really comfy and large. One night, when I decided to sleep at my mom's, I woke up to no apparent reason. I checked the timer that was on my right, and it said 3 or 4 a.m. This wasn't a big surprise because this would happen a few times a month. But this one felt different. After readjusting myself in the bed while looking at an open door to my left that would lead into a hallway, a black silhouette of a head just appeared peeking at me. My eyes opened wide immediately, but I closed them shortly thereafter, but still had them open a little so that I could see this figure. At this point, my heart started racing more than it has ever done in my life. It would not go away. It would just stand there staring at me, not moving an inch, as if it was making sure I wouldn't try to get up and do something. This starting went this started This startling went on for about 30 to 45 minutes. I don't truly know how long, and I don't truly dare move to my right to check what time it was. After those minutes, the figure proceeded to go elsewhere. Of course, I was extremely scared, so I couldn't just sleep after that, right? After some time had passed, I noticed that the door was closing. We didn't have a balcony open, so it couldn't have been the air doing it. At the same time, I never noticed any arm pulling the door or anything like it. Maybe it was just too dark or my eyes were too closed to see, but whatever. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I just kept looking at that door, anticipating what was going to happen next. But nothing happened. I noticed it was getting brighter outside, and so I kept thinking about getting up and checking out the house. Once it became pretty bright outside, I turned to my right to look at what time it was, and it was 6 a.m. I finally had gotten the courage to get up and cautiously open the door leading to the hallway to check if anything was wrong. I checked every single room. I didn't find anything wrong. All the balcony doors were locked. The door leading outside to the rest of the flat was completely locked. To say the least, I was very relieved, but also confused. At this point, my mind had already raced through a million different thoughts about what was this figure and what could it have meant, or was it a burglar? But I didn't notice any door unlocked or tampered with. I told my experience to my brother, and he told me that maybe it was him because he would occasionally check up on us at night and make sure we were okay. If it was, though, I would have been able to discern his facial features. The thing I saw was pitch black. No hair, no nothing. At least I should have been able to recognize its long hair, my brother's long hair. I honestly have no idea what it could have been, other than a weird spirit just deciding to pay us a visit. Hang on, guys. I'm just looking for an experience. I know I've got one that I want to share with you guys. What the hell is... Hang on, I'm sorry. On that pile. Is that it? No, that's not it. Jeez, I'm a crow. I cannot believe I can't find that experience. What the hell is that? I don't know. Hang on, I'll find it. Good night, Delirium. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight, buddy. Thank you. Yeah. Trail cam footage. It was probably fake if it was on YouTube, to be honest with you. Arabic, I would love to see that. I was talking about the Dogman footage because I have never seen any real good Dogman footage on YouTube. But Arabic, I'd like to see that. Chances are it probably is. Where was it? Shut up your face. Do you know where it was? If you tell me, I'll look at it quick. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. With AI now, it's kind of hard to believe anything on YouTube, especially with videos. Like, does anybody remember the video that was so corny? Like, I remember when I first saw the video, I was like, how the fuck is anybody believing this? It was a dog man running around the woods, and there was a little circle that said property of the United States government or property of the Department of Defense and this and that. And the video was fake. It came from a video game that my daughter had let me or shown it to me. You won't be able to share the link on here. If you could just tell me where it is, and I'll look for it quick while we're online. What's up, Tyler? How are you, buddy? Rockin' steady. There you are, buddy. How are you? Long time. I'm sorry I missed saying hi to you tonight. Yeah, definitely AI. Definitely AI Hercules. Sorry. Definitely AI on that one. It just needed to see that name, and I'm like, burp. Amanda, how are you? Let me see quick. Has anyone found that one yet? Oh, Jesus. That is definitely AI. Hundo percent. Definitely AI. I'm looking at it. Rockin' steady. No, congratulations to the new job, brother. Congratulations to the new job. Where's DB Mac? DB Mac. You know what it almost looks like? It almost really looks like the guy that had. Remember when? Remember when NVTV posted the dude fucking? I ended up befriending the guy who made the video. He made the video for a college class where he was running around dressed as a werewolf, and he this poor fucking guy made this video for movie class for his college or whatever, and he's literally running around through the woods like a bit like a freaking dog man. Like actually, a werewolf was the movie it was supposed to be. Aramaic! And it got posted, and they NBT, of course, said, "Hey, made the mistake. It was this guy. This guy did it." After the guy had reached out to them, and so they honored the guy. But then you had all these other channels like say sharing the video, and it was like I had the guy on the show. I was like, dude, you've got to like set the record straight. And he came on, talked, and he's like, yeah, I made the video while I was in college, this, and that. And it was like so funny. Aramic, thank you. Thank you so much, brother. You are awesome. I'll have to look at that. Thank you. Thank you. Daisy, I'm going to look at that right now just to see. But yeah, that's wow. Um, all right, if it's the one, the search and rescue one, the body cam, the real deal. None of these are real. None of these videos are real on this channel. I can tell you that right now, 100%. You can actually, there's an app on that you can do. Yeah, that's not real. There's an app that you can use to tell that these. One, you can tell this channel is garbage, and two, like this is this is terrible. I'm not being a dick to anybody who believes it, but no, not real. There's an app that you can play it back through, and it'll tell you if it's AI. To be honest with you, it's. Yeah, I'm looking at it too. It's yeah, it's horseshit. Anyway, Rosie, have a good night. Please, please reach out to me so I can talk to you. I want to hear you, and I want to hear about the Cristo region. What I said, NVTV a long time ago had posted a video of a guy who had made a video of, he was making movies in college. He dressed up like a werewolf, not a Dogman. He didn't even know what Dogman was. He's running through the woods. He's running between pine trees and shit. And there was like a kind of an off camera face. It almost appeared like it was real. The guy then reaches out to NVTV and says, "Hey, this is me. I made this video in college." And he had reached out a few times. And he must have not got the email or whatever. Finally, they did. And they said, "Hey, sorry, it was this guy who made the video, this, and that." And then I had the guy on talking about the video and how it was not a real video, because everyone was like, "This is real. This is real." And I'm like, no, it's this guy that did it. But yeah, NVT did state that it was this person that did it. And then I had him on. But then there's all these other channels, these little small channels that pop up out of nowhere, like a wet fart. And, people are like, "Oh my God, it's AI talking to us, and it's an AI video. It's real." But no, I really think it was cool of NBTV to, say, "Hey, this video was made by this guy," and not a lot of people do that, and I thought that was cool. So I give them credit for that. So I hate when my mouse does that. There it goes. Smitty, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. AI is ruining. Here's the thing. This is how I look at it. All right. Until I have a real video that I took myself, like I have something coming off that mountainside. I don't know what it is. It was too far away for me to get it, but it came off the side of the mountain. It hit the mountain path, went bipedal, and then went down the other side into the valley. Anything you honestly can't believe any video. You know what I mean? It's hard. It's really hard too. There are some paranormal videos out there that I'll believe. But then even then they're hard to believe, like I don't know. It's a weird kind of gray area when a video is played. Especially here's the thing on that body cam footage video, right? The one that you shared, both you guys. You've got a channel that's got 40 videos of real footage. No one else has it, but they do. Is it you don't see what I'm saying there? You know what I mean? Like no one else has it. I just watched it. Shut up your face. It's the same one that Daisy shared. It's literally, you have 40 videos of different, but no one else has them. So they're like creating these videos that are interesting to watch, but how do you get 40 videos of 40 different places? Are you that good? But you're still using an AI voice? Does nobody see that? You know what I mean? Just like when I was talking about the Oklahoma case, and people were saying the sheriff is sharing. The sheriff just did an exclusive. Well, he can't. You can't. A sheriff can't do an exclusive, especially on a YouTube channel. because it's against the law. They can't talk about an open, ongoing case. It's against the law. He would lose his job instantly, and nobody thought about that. Like they were like, "Oh man, it's so real." No, it wasn't, because if it was, he would have lost his job. Because if it was real shit that he was saying, if it was really the sheriff, it wasn't, but it was real shit that he was saying, Fox, NBC, ABC, MSN, they all would have had that information. Nobody had it except a YouTube channel. Like, that's why he didn't even talk to me. I couldn't even get him on. I got his freaking assistant. I was lucky to get the director of the wildlife division. But I mean, it's like it's valid. We get super excited. It's human instinct. We get super excited because we all want the truth. We all want the truth. So instantly, when we think we get the truth, we're like, yes, it's real. But then you take a step back and look at it and be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Why aren't they? It's against the law. I don't know. That's just how I look at it. I could be wrong. I probably am. Probably am wrong. And good for it. Turbo Christ, how are you? I love you guys. I really do. I'm not busting anybody's balls. I just that's the whole thing of this pseudoscience is we are so hyper about getting the truth and getting the information that the first someone says they have something new, that new shiny toy, we're like, yay, let me see it. Instead of like realizing that's the old fucking rusted toy that we're all playing with. You know what I mean? Alligator horse, how are you? Marge, how are you, dear? Good seeing you. Glad that you're here with us tonight. Yeah, new time, 10 p.m. 10 p.m. is the new time. I'm getting old. Dude, I am getting old. I'll be 50 in a couple months. Biddy. But I think it works. It works for all of us. You know what I mean? 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is a good time for us. People getting out of work. People, like nobody wants to stay up till 3 in the morning. You know what I mean? I just think this is a better time for all of us. And, it's just I like it because then I can go to bed early. I don't like staying up late anymore. Literally, when I got engaged, it was like the best. I go to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's a late one. That's a late one. I love it. Happy birthday, brother. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, DB Mac. Happy birthday to you. Yep. But yeah, I think it's better. You know what I mean? I like the time, and it gives me an opportunity to hang out more with you guys. Thank you very much for the congratulations on the engagement. I'm blessed, like I had my experience with her. She was the girl that she's my soulmate, pretty much. She is my soulmate. There's no other way around it. We've known each other. I've loved her since day one I met her. You know, never stopped thinking about her my entire life. So Aramic loves Mr. Jeff. I love you, Aramic. But, I mean, and for those of you who have not heard my experience, I'll end tonight's live stream with my experience, okay? 1996, 94. I was 18. 94. 1990. I'm watching Chernobyl today. That's why 86, 96. 1994, I was 18. Myself, my best friend Martin, who was Czechoslovakian, my friend Gabe, who was 18 at the time. I was still 17 because this was the summer of. And in New York State, if you are 16, 17, you can't drive after 9. So we employed Gabe to drive us around. I wanted to see my girlfriend, Rachel, and my buddy Martin wanted to see his girlfriend. We'll just call her Elle for now. And so we pick the girls up. They were staying at Elle's house, and we drive over to this cul-de-sac. Now, behind the cul-de-sac is just this huge set of woods, a mountain, the river, and an old defunct prison is up in those mountains. We're hanging out. We are literally in this U-shaped cul-de-sac. There's like 6 or 7 different houses being built at different levels, all skeletal. There's a light in the middle. It's that old 90s lamp light. We're listening to the greatest New York City hardcore band ever, Biohazard, and just hanging out. We hear this weird noise. It was unlike anything I had ever heard. The girls instantly jump up and scream vampire. Now, from the time they screamed, they must have looked like a cartoon because by the time I turned to see where they were already in the car. Doors shut. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm looking like, what the fuck just happened? Martin is like an idiot running around. Once again, Czechoslovakian, thought he was Arnold Schwarzenegger, like muscle-bound kid. Literally my best friend growing up. I loved him. And so we're all like, I'm sitting in front of the car. I'm like just like this, like in the woods. I'm not being brave. I'm not being anything. I'm just confused. And I see these whitish eyes. There's a set of them. And then I see another set. And then I see another set and another set. The key to this is the woods behind those houses is so thick and so clumpy with trees, because when they cut the trees down, they just shoved the shit back in the woods, you know? So that it's not easy travel back there. These things are freaking hauling ass through the woods at us. I'm now on the passenger side of the car in front of the headlight. And I'm looking at a set. My cat just scared the shit out of me. I'm looking at a set of eyes, like staring dead at me. And I'm like trying to figure out what is going on, because I can see this is like 7 or 8 feet in height. There's a 3-foot set, different sets. And I'm like, what the fuck is... Martin comes running up and grabs my arm. Best Martin impersonation. Jiff, get in the fucking car, bitch. Slovakian accent. So I get in the car and we pull out. We're in this beat up land yacht of a vehicle, baby blue, gutless, cutlass. Gabe punches it and we get to the stop sign. The stop sign is Route 9. Now, if you go north, you go to Lake George. If you go south, you go to Saratoga. We're going north. The girls need to go south, right? We're getting ready to turn, and I look across Martin and Gabe, and there's a creature standing by the stop sign. I vividly remember seeing it. It looked almost very similar to Anubis. Almost jackal-like, tall ears. Its body was huge. And Gabe punches it, and we go north. So we turn around eventually, and we drop the girls off. And mind you, like, we drive right by. I'm looking out the window. Nothing's there. The cul-de-sac that we were at is one cul-de-sac before L, where L's house was. So we drop Rachel and her friend off, and then we pull back out and go home. Martin's dad was a caretaker of a church, a Methodist church. So Gabe drops us off. Me and Martin go into the church, and we're hanging out like in the pews, just sitting talking about what happened that night. Now, we would hang out in the church all the time. It was kind of like our hangout area. So we wait until morning, and we end up falling asleep probably 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. We drive back to the place. We pull in, and I'll never forget, Martin had this like beat up tan colored S10 with a box, a cab on the box or cab on the bed or whatever. We pull in, we get out. I'm looking for tracks. I'm like investigating everything. No tracks, no nothing. We looked at the stop sign, we kept going down. The foreman yells at us, like screams at us. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here. I'll call the cops." And we're like, "Yo, we're just looking for his dog. He lost his dog." He's like, "Oh, sorry. There's people have been stealing wood. Our where we live, there had been a housing explosion, and people were stealing wood left and right." So he then tells us the night prior, the night we had our experience, he had heard a group of dogs howling in the woods, a huge group of dogs that were howling out there. And so we kind of look at each other, blow it off. Gabe, our friend Gabe, never sees us again. We never saw him. Like, he just blew us off after that. Obviously, I was with my girlfriend for the rest of the summer, and then periodically through the rest of our lives. Now my fiance. I run into Gabe 3 years ago, and I'm like, "Dude, what's up? How are you?" I'm like, "This is, we're bullshitting." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like, "I have a YouTube channel. I'm sober, this and that." He's like, "That's awesome." I'm like, "Hey, remember that night?" And he looks at me, and his eyes are like, boom, right? And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I do." He goes, "And what happened that night was you and Martin's fault." He goes, "You guys listened to the devil music. We were kids. We listened to like Fear Factory, fucking Deicide, Obituary. We were just kids. We were listening to heavy metal music. That's what we were into. This moron thinks that we're fucking Satan worshipers and blames us. But what he says is even scarier, because what he says is, I'm sitting in my car listening to the music. Now, he was mad at us too, because he didn't have a girlfriend. We both had girlfriends. He goes, "I'm just sitting there listening to the music, and I see, prior to the sound that we all heard," he goes, "I see two of those things come across the road into the woods behind us." And they were quadruped at the time. And my eyes are like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then all hell broke loose. And I'm like, "Wait, what? Really?" And he's like, I blamed you guys. I thought, the devil was coming to kill us and this and that." Now, funny thing is, the day Rach and I reconnect, we're both older now. We're talking. She's talking about my channel, this and that. And I go, "Do you remember?" And she goes, "The night?" Instantly. She goes, "The vampires?" And I'm like, "Dogman?" And we both have the same memory. So that was my experience. That's what got me into researching these creatures. There was no internet. I had to go to a used bookstore to find my first Bigfoot book. And it was cryptids, but it was bullshit. You know what I mean? It was like 15 to 20 pages of bullshit, but it was my first cryptid book. And since that day, I have been obsessed with these creatures. I have been obsessed with the paranormal. And I think that through valid research and always questioning everything, we will eventually have some sort of truth. The thing is you have to question everything. Even if you have your favorite creator, your favorite author, your favorite researcher, still question that. Not to their face, but if they say something, go and look it up. Make sure it's real. Make sure what they're saying is legit. Make sure there's proof of it, instead of just their word. You can't take anybody for their word nowadays. Back in the day, someone's word was gold. Nowadays, someone's word is like spit on the ground. That's the way I look at it. And eventually we will have hopefully some sort of evidence, hopefully some sort of real significant proof. And that's how it is. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. And, I really appreciate you guys. You guys are what really is the lifeblood of this channel. You guys are what really makes me want to research and talk about these stuff more and more. So I owe you a debt of gratitude. So thank you. And I appreciate everything. All right. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. I will see you next Saturday at 10 p.m. And just stay true to the own self and question everything. Question it all. And with that, I love you guys. And $20 is $20. Have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with me.